Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. You're watching Total Fitness Trialogue, where we discuss all issues related to our physical, social, mental, and spiritual well-being. Alhamdulillah, Ramadan is fast approaching, and with its impending arrival, today we would like to discuss fasting, its health and spiritual benefits, and the misconceptions we have about it, and how we should approach Ramadan the right way. Joining with us today, our panel members are Dr. M.D. Abdullah Yusuf, a longtime practicing family medicine physician. We also have with us Meza bin Ahmed. She is a recent college graduate and currently working as a gate coordinator at Virgin Atlantic JFK. Dr. Yusuf, Meza bin, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Yusuf, I would like to start with you. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. We're honored to have you. As you know, on this program, we like to approach issues as it relates particularly to our young generations. And one of the main concerns that come up during Ramadan and before Ramadan is that many parents feel reluctant to allow their age-appropriate children to fast. The main concern being that they're worried that while fasting, them having to go to school or working, it may have health risk or they may have poor performance at school. Dr. Yusuf, as a physician, what can you share about science that may put parents' concern at ease? Because it seems that science is finally caught up on this issue, and I would like to hear from you what science now proves that sages and prophets have known since ages.
Thank you. I'm glad that we are part of this very important topic, and this fasting is coming, and most of the time some people would prepare for the fasting ahead of time, and some not so sure. It used to be part of our culture. I can recall when I was a young child, I used to get up every morning during Suhoor time with my mother, and while she prepared the food, I probably would take some plate for the table. So that culture, I think, over time changed a little bit, and many children are not getting the opportunity when they are younger to get up in the morning and be part of that culture. So I guess there is some misconception, as you are mentioning. Parents are worried, or they are thinking that if it's more important to go to school, more important to go to work, and they may not feel healthy. From the medical perspective, if we look at it, there is many benefits of fasting. And if we just go directly, first part, okay, if they are going to school, they have to study, they have an exam coming up. What about, and people also think I have brain fog, like, okay, and some people would say, okay, I'm fasting, that's why I forgot. Like at your work, they might say, okay, he made a mistake, and he would dump it on the, yes, I'm fasting, that's why my brain is not sharp, which is actually not true. So first health benefit, your brain becomes sharper when you don't eat for a certain time. And the way it works is more like, let's say you did not eat for a few hours, your brain becomes sharper because it's looking for food, so to say, because it's looking for a solution. So it try to find more problem. And the same way, we know if someone faces a lot of trouble, challenges in life, their brain starts working more sharply and to find the solution. And it also, the fasting excites gray matter, and someone who regularly fasts, it will decrease the chance of getting Alzheimer, dementia, memory loss over time. Also, not only brain-wise, the risk of having diabetes, risk of cancer goes down. Your skin actually become more healthier. And it also shows your LDL, which is bad cholesterol, it goes down by 8%. Triglyceride, it goes down by 30%. HDL, which is a good cholesterol, it increased by 14.3%. As such, your fat decrease, the chance of getting heart attack, stroke goes down. Also, mental stress goes down with regular fasting, and even your heart rate, blood pressure goes down, and there is also benefit of weight loss. So there is many benefits. Just a few we mentioned when you are fasting. Actually, as said, it's more about myth or the attitude towards the fasting that stops our parents, I think, wrong thinking that okay, if they doesn't eat, if their children doesn't eat, they will become weaker and they will be less successful in their daily life.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf, for that enlightening explanation. I think so. What we can gather from what you said is that the Ramadan fasting, it's not just a religious practice, but it's bound by many physical the benefits as well. So I think in recent studies, people, scientists have also found benefits of autophagy. If you can share a few thoughts on that as well.
Actually, yes. So we are hearing this term autophagy in last few years a lot. Even when you are not formally religiously practicing, let's say 14, 15 hours of fasting, they are recommending some people who are overweight or obese to lose weight. Autophagy is a good way to go, because what happens is after 12 hours of fasting, our body starts breaking down fat. So it's kind of starts eating it fat from there. That's why the term autophagy comes. But it starts after 12 hours. So let's say if we are starting fasting in the morning at 4 a.m. and going up to 7 p.m., so that's almost 15 hours. So the last 3 hours, our body starts eating those toxic and also fat, and that helps with decreasing the fat and weight. That's the benefit of autophagy which we get during the month of Ramadan.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Mejavin, now I would like to come to you. So, as someone who recently finished school and are now working, what struggles did you face as a student and now as a working person fasting during Ramadan while living in the United States, attending school, work, or being around non-fasting colleagues? How did you find yourself cope with those struggles, or what strategies helped you?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this trialogue. I'm really honored to be part of this. As Abdullah Bhai was speaking, I was learning a lot actually. I didn't know the few interesting term, autophagy and everything. But then to answer your question, yes, well, my overall experience is very bitter and sweet. I have to say most of the time is sweet and like good experience. But yes, as a fasting Muslim student and an employee where the most employees are not from the similar background, religious background or culture background, they don't understand. They're usually very curious and but very curious, and they don't understand why we're fasting the way we're fasting. So that is like one of the interesting questions, the most common question I will always get asked. And explaining that while you're fasting you are like dehydrated or like you're feeling dehydrated, I think it's one of the interesting struggle. But then if it's like an interesting opportunity at the same time to educate someone who's actually interested about our religion. So that's why it's like a bittersweet experience from my side. And of course, when it's very difficult to match the timing to breaking fast, even praying is like finding a space to pray as a woman. It's another struggle too. But shukr alhamdulillah, so far I believe like with any other Muslim student, we have successfully managed those years as a student, and as I'm working somewhere where very like in an environment where very highly paced, it can change like in seconds. I am very grateful that my colleagues are actually very understanding. And when I explain them the concept of Ramadan, now they look forward it, and sometimes they even tell their experience that, hey, you're fasting, so I'm fasting too, just to feel that what you feel. And since I always try to share the benefits of fasting in my own words, they always want to try it out too. So that makes it easier, that makes the overall experience, even though I'm not actually most of the time, even last year when I started this job, I was struggling to break my fast on time. But since my colleagues were very understanding, they were making it easier for me. It's an interesting overall experience as an Muslim woman living in abroad.
Thank you, Majawin. I think that was a very interesting and not only interesting but a very common experience for all of us living abroad, I think. And I think the important lesson from what you experience is that having a supportive environment is very important. So I think instead of hiding, because in my experience I found that a lot of times, I think the Ramadan is more known than now than it was when I first immigrated to the US. It wasn't, now it's, everybody knows what Ramadan is. But back in the 90s, everyone would be like, what is Ramadan? And they had no idea. So things are definitely easier. And what I appreciated, and I'm sure you could relate to this as well, is that oftentimes our colleagues or our friends or our classmates, they would try to fast in solidarity, like, oh, you're not eating, so even though they're not fasting, but at least they would try to refrain from eating, or they would not eat in front of you knowing that you're not eating. So I did appreciate those small gestures, and I think that goes without saying that having that support system definitely helps. And I think it also sets a good example of self-restraint as well, because living in current times, we are so used to having instant gratification, not having the ability to wait for something. So the fact that Ramadan gives us that pause button and learning to wait for something, learning to wait for that food, wait for that drink at certain time. So I think that's an important lesson for us all, especially the young generation, definitely. So thank you for sharing that valuable experience with us. Dr. Yusuf, I would like to come back to you. And since Ramadan is a month of both physical and spiritual gain, and in this month, we're supposed to be fasting, we're supposed to be restraining from things, and instead it has in recent years turned into a feasting event, starting at iftar all the way down to sehri or suhoor. Iftar, everybody, even people who do not fast in the Western culture, everybody knows what iftar is, because iftar is this huge feasting event. Everybody comes together for that, and that is part of the culture. But at the same time, because the true sense of Ramadan is you're supposed to practice moderation. So I would like to get your take on what the healthy or the correct practice of healthy eating should be during Ramadan.
Thank you. I mean, it's a broad question, so I will try to summarize as much as I can. Actually, if we, as I was mentioning, the attitude regarding Ramadan has it changed a lot, and although it's a religious practice, Islamic religious practice, and it adapted to different place, different culture. Like in Bangladesh, it's certain way. In USA, it's certain way. And you guys are talking about how foreigners, and the non-Muslim foreigners, how they are adapting to it. And most of them are they'll be bit kind towards that. Okay, he's not eating, we're not going to eat in front. But there are also different experience also. And I can share one experience I had during 1 month of 1 year. One of our colleague from a different big corporate office. So he sent out an email in the beginning of the Ramadan. Okay, from tomorrow Ramadan is starting. If you see us, he wanted to be funny. He was trying to say this is the meaning of Ramadan, and if you see some people are a bit tired, take it easy, this kind of thing. And from the top, administrator did not really like this email. So kind of they said, okay, we don't want to send any email out regarding religion. But interestingly, a few days later, there was Easter time, and the administrator was wishing everybody Easter, but they could not take that positively. So when you are abroad, you can face something like that. And also, if you look at the food side, as you're mentioning, this month supposed to be practicing moderation. No matter what it is, it's not about only the food. How you behave, your behavior supposed to be in moderation. So there was two parts. One, you are representing the religion and the practice, because by looking at you, other people are judging. I'm trying to understand what fasting means. Because one day, I remember, it's almost iftar time, and there was a patient came and I was seeing happily. So after that patient gone, one of my assistant was asking me, are you fasting? I said, yes, I am. He said, but you don't look like it. I said, what do you mean I don't look like it? Because said, usually we see the other doctors who is fasting in the afternoon time, evening time, they get really cranky until the iftar time. I said, that's not how it's supposed to be. So what I'm trying to say is how we behave during the month of Ramadan actually representing what Ramadan means, because they doesn't necessarily know. They are looking at you and trying to understand. Other part, this iftar party, as you were mentioning, everybody practice this, no matter which religion, because they like the food and the variety of food. If you think it's supposed to be the cost of food or cost of buying food during the month of Ramadan is supposed to go down. But what we see that everybody is buying more and more food, because they're thinking, okay, oh my God, I'm not going to eat all day long, so I need some good food in the morning. And oh my God, I did not eat all day, so I need to have all different kind of spicy food and food at in the iftari time and night time. And some people would eat throughout the night to make sure they are not hungry next day. But this is not the practice. And if you look at directly medical benefit wise or the problem wise, if you don't follow certain things, that could become very unhealthy. Because let's say protein means goat meat, cow meat, egg, chicken. So anything protein you eat, our body requires more water to digest. Now, in the morning, sohar time, if you are eating like a big meal with mutton, with beef, then what will happen? During the day, you will suffer from thirst. Because whatever you drank in the morning, that water is being used already to digest the food you ate in the morning. So during the lunchtime, by the lunchtime, afternoon time, you will struggle with the thirst. So that's one part. So to take home point is, during Sehri time, you should not eat any kind of protein. Your food should be very little carb. It could be rice, but with that you should have some kind of mixed vegetable. It should be very simple, and water. So that way you will see your day goes very easily. You're not going to be thirsty, not going to be that much hungry. And iftar time, if you imagine, let's say 14, 15 hours, or in US it could be even more, 16, 17 hours, you did not eat. Now your stomach is empty. Now suddenly when you are doing all this unhealthy iftari item, like all these spicy food, all these heavily grilled or oil cooked food, when you are having those, that gives you instant gas, acidity, and you will have diarrhea, you will have kind of IBS kind of symptoms. And that can ruin your Ramadan experience. We are not saying you should not ever eat those kind of food, but why don't you keep those food for other time, not when you are fasting? or not in the time of Ramadan. So best way to eat for iftar is you should have few dates, 2-3 dates along with some water. That should be your main iftar, because that will give you sucrose in your body, and all the tiredness you had throughout the day, it will be gone. After that you can pray your Maghrib prayer, and after this you should have your regular dinner. So that should include your rice, some kind of protein, fish is better, chicken, and you should avoid as much as beef and mutton if possible. You can have vegetable, you can have dal, you can also have some kind of fruit. So then you will feel good, and it won't be very expensive, and you won't be that tired, and that you will have energy to pray. So those are the thing you should avoid, and those are the things you should eat, because you will see that after a few days the clinics starts getting busier because people are getting sick and coming, and mostly it's because of the wrong food choice or feasting, which you should not do during the month of Ramadan.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. So, what we gather from what you said is it's very important to eat food that are easy on the stomach, easy to digest. So, avoiding heavily spiced and fried food, and things that we can easily digest, such as vegetables, lentils. Thank you. So I think by following those simple tools, we can easily make Ramadan into a very healthy practice for us all. Instead of it being a struggle, it can actually reset our biological clock into becoming more healthier, because Ramadan in essence is a reset button. Everything that we did wrong throughout the year, Ramadan is a time to reset and start learning new habits, good eating habits, good spiritual practices as well. So Mehjabin, with that being said, I would like to ask you, since Ramadan is not just about abstaining from food and drink all day, it is also a time for self-reflection, self-building. How do you think the young generation of today can use Ramadan as an experience, as an opportunity to build themselves? Because as we see in today's world, teens are so consumed with social media, with instant gratification, wanting what they need at the moment, and they're just jumping from one thing to the next. So how can Ramadan give our young generation that reset button and actually start to focus on themselves?
It's a really great question that you have. I'm really glad that you're asking this question. So first of all, what I think that the young generation, they should understand why we're trying to celebrate Ramadan, why Ramadan is important for us. It's important for two different reasons, because of Quran and fasting. So we have to understand the significance behind that. We have to understand the history behind that, the religious values behind that. And once they will understand, they will learn about it. They will learn to grow to be learn to grow to be in love and respect, have that respect towards this month of Ramadan, this 30 days. And that will make it easier for them to take fasting as something like, oh, I have to do it, oh my God, I have no other choice, rather than, okay, it's an opportunity for me to cleanse my soul and my body, because you are giving you're giving your body that opportunity to cleanse in a manner that you won't usually get that opportunity throughout the year, because let's say you're going out with your friends, you're going to different parties, and you cannot, sometimes it's like controlling yourself, it's not that easy. But when you're doing it for God, or that some kind of religious emotion, it's easy, it gets easier. And also I believe most of us have heard this term silent quitting. It's been very popular for past, I think last year it got very popular, and this term started surfacing around COVID time. So what they started doing is silent quitting is they start quitting social media, they start quitting certain lifestyle, like going to parties or like over consuming anything. So they bring out this interesting catchy name, silent quitting, and I've seen young generations been attracted to it like moth, like they bought this concept, like, okay, I want to silent quit too. But I just want to let all my fellow young Muslim men and women that we have been doing it for many, many years. This is our silent quit. We do that every year during Ramadan. We fast, we try to restrain ourselves from any kind of bad thoughts and everything. Overall, the cleansing we do that, and we try to quit everything negative, and we try to attract everything good in our life. So we should be proud of this month, and we should take opportunity, and we should regain that power of Ramadan. Instead of silent quitting like modern men and women, why don't we do that? We have been doing it for 1400 years. And that will be my advice for the young generation, that if you think and if you listen, you will see the new generation ideas that we see in social media. It's nothing but age-old tricks and tools that we have been following. They just repackage it and throw it at us, and we think like, oh, it's something revolutionary. So that would be my message for the young generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mejabin. Those were some wonderful thoughts, and yes, it is true that what science today brings up. It's been practiced for the last 1400 years through the practice of Islam. And I think Ramadan is such a wonderful time to practice gratitude. I think in today's world, it's not just young generation, but every one of us, we need that moment to practice gratitude. So I think during the 30 days or 29 or 30 days of Ramadan, it's very important if we can all find one thing that we are grateful for each day of the 30 days of Ramadan. And then during iftar time, that's such a wonderful time for our prayers to be accepted by Allah. So I think oftentimes as family, we are so busy during iftar time trying to bring food to the table. But instead, if we can bring peace into the iftar table, so setting aside 15 minutes before iftar time, if we sit down at the dining table and listen to Al-Quran and have one dua for ourselves, our family, or whoever it could be, one thing that we want for ourselves. I think that's a wonderful way to use this Ramadan and make this Ramadan the best Ramadan of our life, because truth be told, tomorrow is not promised. We don't know if we will be lucky enough to have the next Ramadan in our life. So if we are lucky to have this Ramadan this year, then we should do everything in our ability to make this Ramadan the best Ramadan of our life. And by practicing these few things that Dr. Yusuf and Mejabin have shared with us today, we can make this Ramadan easily the best one yet. Because we don't know if next year we'll be here, and we'll be able to do this. But all we have is the present moment, and I urge all of our the Muslim the brothers and sisters, and not just Muslim brothers and sisters. Ramadan may be an Islamic practice, but it's a time for everyone to come together and use this time to bring positive changes in our life. We can use this time to break those bad habits that we have, because 30 days is a wonderful time to build a new habit. So, change doesn't happen overnight. So this 30 day gives us a kickstart. And after this 30 day, we're supposed to continue on for the remainder of the year. So it's not Ramadan ends and everything good that we practice during this month, it goes away. The 30-day is a kickstart, and then we continue on. So I hope that this Ramadan is a blessed one for all of us. I thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Thank you, Mejabin, for being with us today and sharing your wonderful, valuable insights with all of us. And thank you to all of you out there at home, wherever you are watching with us. I urge you to visit our websites, and there you will find additional resources that you can use throughout the Ramadan. You can download our Al-Quran Marmobani book. You can download our audio duas that you can use during iftar time. So I urge you to stay with us, and inshallah we will see you at our next episode. Thank you everyone. Be well, be good. Take care.